I mean, this is going to be probably the biggest event, certainly in crypto history, but maybe one of the biggest events in like all finance, technology events. Like I am very optimistic that people are going who attend this event are going to come away with a similar feeling to 2021, where like, wow, I just witnessed history.
Today's show is brought to you by Mezzo, a new home for Bitcoin holders to cultivate Bitcoin and grow wealth together. Use your BTC on Mezzo to unlock real utility and honest yield. Join Bitcoin's first open source economic layer today. The world's largest Bitcoin conference just days away, and President Trump still headlining despite the recent assassination attempt. For more on what to expect from the conference this year, very excited to welcome on the show the chief of staff behind the conference organizers, Brandon Green, joining Coinage for the first time. Brandon, so good to see you, man. Thanks for copping on.
Great to see you, Zach. Excited to be on.
I mean, this is the conference, by the way. I've been to it before, Bitcoin Miami a couple years ago, the largest gathering of some of the biggest names in crypto, in the Bitcoin industry. And this time around, just one of the biggest names in the world you guys have headlining, and President Trump still, despite everything that we saw play out. Talk to me about what those conversations have been like, both internally as a team to prep for this now in the wake of what we saw, and also with his team and how excited he is to be headlining.
Yeah, well, as you can imagine, it's been a very hectic weekend on the Bitcoin conference team. There's been a lot of internal conversations around, operational changes, security changes, et cetera. So it was definitely something where the whole team was kind of reacting all at once in internal comms around what we were all seeing happen, which was horrific. And, it was, I mean, it's one of those moments that we'll remember for the rest of our lives. I mean, knowing that we were scheduled to have him 2 weeks later and seeing that happen and not knowing what the answer was going to be of whether he's going to continue to speak it was just a crazy moment. It was insane. And fortunately, we got on the phone with his team in the next day and got word from them that he's in great spirits and is very excited to speak at the conference. So I mean, talk about just a level of bravery that is just unbelievable. I mean, truly unbelievable. And we're super excited that he's choosing to continue to speak at the conference. He is, I mean, clearly valuing speaking to the Bitcoiners and doesn't want to lose that opportunity. So I'm excited to see what he says. I've heard rumors about what he might be talking about, and I can't share anything. But suffice it to say, I'm hoping and I'm excited to potentially change the world come Saturday, July 27th, when he takes the stage.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking forward to that speech, and a lot of people are also wondering if there are any changes. Obviously, you guys have hosted big politicians before in other conferences, but with this one, I imagine the heightened security, even outside of the Bitcoin conference, just Secret Service in general, a lot of questions being asked. When it comes to your guys' own security concerns now at the conference, were there any changes after what we saw play out?
Well, so fortunately, we've been in the conference space, like you said, for a while and have had some very high profile people come through. So it's not a coincidence maybe, but it is convenient that we do have the best security company in the world that was already running our security. I mean, these guys are absolute professionals, and they run security for some of the most famous people in the world. I won't go into who, but we were already in great hands. And the short of it is just that because we are post RNC and Trump goes from presumptive nominee to the actual nominee, it's already standard procedure that the Secret Service detail is up tremendously. And so, we were already planning on that. And, truly it's not a crazy departure from what we were already planning on. We were already planning on like massive Secret Service, security at the event. So, I keep saying suffice it to say, but it's going to be a very safe event. There's going to be a lot of, a lot of planning around the security of the event. There already has been. There's going to be even more.
Hmm.
And, it's something that we're taking very seriously, especially on the backs of what happened, but we were already taking it very seriously. So I'm very confident in what we have planned. And, we're putting out messaging in the coming really hours, maybe, or, next couple of days around like what some of those security measures will be. Um, and what some of the security measures that we aren't sharing will be. Just no need to talk about all of it. So
Yeah.
uh, yeah,
Well, backing up a little bit too, I imagine there was a lot of back and forth in terms of getting President Trump to speak in general. Obviously, an excited crowd, and he loves those. But when it comes to the actual, I guess, selling point or how this came to fruition, I'd be curious to get more details on that because what was kind of the discussion around it? David Bailey obviously has talked about, I think, getting President Trump down to Bitcoin Nashville 2024 for a while. The Washington Post was out reporting with looking at fundraising efforts and maybe the expectation that you could see $15 million brought in for President Trump down there at the conference. I mean, what were those talks like to finally nail this, to get it signed, sealed, and delivered?
yeah, absolutely. So there's things that I can't say about those conversations. What I will say is from a very early stage, some of our initial conversations with the Trump campaign and the Trump team and Trump himself, they understood the magnitude of the opportunity here. And some of the math is like pretty simple. There's between, let's say, 50 and 75 million Americans today who own Bitcoin. That's according to both Kraken and Coinbase research and polls that they put out. And the market cap of Bitcoin's over $1 trillion. So this is a group of people who are going to vote their pocketbook. And Trump has fallen into a situation where his opponent has all but completely antagonized our industry. And so it's not that difficult to see the opportunity of choosing not to antagonize the industry and, in fact, choosing to support the industry. And there's plenty of reasons to support the industry. And, I can say he's learning more and more about what those opportunities are and what it means to support the industry and what our needs are and all this kind of stuff. And so it's been really cool to watch that really flourish and continue to grow, and the conversations with him continue to grow. And I'm very bullish on really what we've been able to accomplish so far, and also what we're going to be able to accomplish for the industry going forward. So, lots that can't be shared right now, but yeah, it's a very positive direction that their team is moving, and I think that it's one that should bolster Bitcoin adoption in the United States.
Yeah, I wonder too. I mean, politics has become a huge talking point in not just the Bitcoin community, but I think also crypto in general. To your point, we've seen the parties themselves now start to divide a little bit, though there are discussions among Democrats to maybe see if they've want to backpedal a bit. When you look at kind of the rundown for speakers at Bitcoin Nashville, interesting to see Senator Bill Hagerty, Senator Marsha Blackburn. So you guys got multiple senators. Vivek Ramaswamy, of course, was there at the last conference last year speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there was a push maybe this time around to invite Democrats and what those conversations were like, just given kind of, I guess, the bipartisan nature of what we're seeing shape up. A lot of people in crypto aren't necessarily happy that this could become another issue that's politicized.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, we've made very concerted efforts to try and get as many Democrats through the door as we can. We do have a Democratic congressman who I don't know if we've announced him yet, but Ro Khanna will be joining us at the event, which we're very excited about. He's one who's just put together, a meeting with many industry CEOs and leaders in the White House with, Democratic leaders as well. And I think, he's especially someone who's been very outspoken in a positive way about Bitcoin and crypto. And so, we want to support those initiatives. We want Bitcoin to be bipartisan. It should be bipartisan. The fact that it's not bipartisan is just an opportunity. I mean, it's a gift at the feet of the Republican Party that the Democratic Party has moved so far away. And so, it's a trend that I do expect to reverse, especially come November. And there are certain Democratic senators and congressmen who have been very outspoken against Bitcoin,
Hmm.
and they all have races coming up in November, and I'm watching those races very closely because they have opponents who have decided to come out very strongly in favor of Bitcoin as one of the ways by which they are competing with their opponent, and I think that we can see Bitcoin as a winning strategy start to develop. And I think that that's something that's very quickly going to change the political landscape of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
If you're a politician and you're running on an anti-Bitcoin platform and you find yourself out of a job in November, you'll know why.
Yeah, and especially if you're making those points heard, maybe perhaps in front of Bitcoiners at this conference in particular. But when it comes to the excitement, I do wonder if, since you guys have made that announcement around Trump speaking at the conference, was there a noticeable uptick in ticket sales that you saw? I mean, it's a huge name, huge get. What does that do for a conference like yours?
Yeah, I mean the ticket sales have been insane. This event, like I didn't think it was possible for us to sell out. I'm not, we have a lot of capacity at the venue to have people. I mean, we could probably hold. I haven't talked to the fire marshal in a second. I think we could probably hold at least 45,000 people. Maybe not all at once, but in total. So I would be shocked if we sold out. But certainly the tickets have been flowing hot and heavy, and we're already preparing for all sorts of conversations to be had with the fire marshal about how we're going to manage the crowds through the event. I mean, this is going to be probably the biggest event, certainly in crypto history, but maybe one of the biggest events in like all finance, technology events. I mean, they're the CESs of the world that are hard to compete with, but
Yeah.
in terms of like the attention, in terms of the headlines that I think are going to come out of this, in terms of the way that this event will impact the world, I think that we're barreling towards something very special next week.
Well, I mean, if it's anywhere close to 45,000, I mean, talk to me historically, because I feel like, the mainstream media loves to dunk on crypto when it's down. I think they love to highlight attendance being down when crypto's down in general. But obviously, things
Mhm.
do seem to be changing this year. In terms of expectations that you have based off the numbers you're seeing now, if they've turned, what is it? You said 45K. I mean, that would be huge relative to prior attendance, I think.
That would be crazy. I mean, I have no way of forecasting. Like all of our models are broken. It's the sailor quote. Like all of our models are broken, so we have no clue where we're going to end up. I was thinking conservatively we would be around like the 20,000 person mark, maybe 25. I'm just watching the ticket sales stream in today. I mean, today has been insane for ticket sales. This is Monday, so yeah, like I don't know where we're going to end up. All I know is we're going much higher from where I was expecting. That's all I'll say.
Well, it's just one way to measure, obviously, the excitement around it. But the other way to measure it, I think, is just kind of how big, as you said, this has grown to attract, not just big names, but also big announcements. And, this time around, I'm curious if there's one distinction. You've been planning these for a while. How different is Bitcoin Nashville going to be relative to maybe the prior conferences that you've been a part of?
I mean, were you at Bitcoin 2021?
Yes. Great conference, by the way.
Yeah, so there was something about Bitcoin 2021 where, it was a fantastic conference, and all of our conferences have been fantastic. But it happened in a moment in time, right? It was the first event in the world post COVID, and I think that it brought this energy with it, of people wanting to get back out there, wanting to see each other in person again. And of course, we ended the event basically with Bukele announcing legal tender for El Salvador
Hmm.
and for Bitcoin. And I think that there was just this special energy there you can't manufacture it. You can't make it. I can't go into a conference planning cycle and be like, all right, we're gonna have this special energy again this year. Like it has to come together, and it's very much coming together in a big way for this event. And so, like I am very optimistic that people are going who attend this event are going to come away with a similar feeling to 2021, where like, wow, I just witnessed history. Like, and in 2021, if you remember, like people were sobbing, people were laughing, people were cheering. It was something akin to like a political rally meets Burning Man,
Yeah.
and it's just this special vibe, and we're going to recapture that with this event. I have no doubt, and so I'm very, very excited. Sometimes the events that we put on, it's like, whew, we just got to get through this, like white knuckle it through kind of the craziness and get to the other side. This one, I cannot wait. I cannot
Yeah.
wait to just be there and experience it with everybody.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Bitcoin 2021. That is the last one I was at. And it was, I met John Woo there, met SBF there, met Caitlin Long there, all the big names at the time. And you're right, it was a different era. And you had even someone, I think back then, with a Dogecoin shirt jumping on stage, taking that off and kind of being there. The following year, you had kind of the controversy around Taproot and the Wizards and what Udi's been working on, and Ordinals, and kind of always things to come out of this conference. If there is a theme this time around, though, we've talked a lot about politics. I haven't mentioned RFK Jr., by the way. And just kind of the theme this time, if there is one, seeing all the talks right now, I don't know if there's something emerging to you and kind of what makes this time around different than that one. Maybe in retail, institutional, kind of what's the mix in your eyes?
Yeah. So, if you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have given you a slightly different answer from this. But what I will say first and foremost is it is an election year. And so, and for the first time, I think Bitcoin is a sizable constituency that every election from here on out, the US leads the world in things like democracy and elections. And so whatever happens in the US first quickly spreads everywhere else. Bitcoin is on the ballot in November this year. And that's the first time in the history of the world that Bitcoin will be a factor in a national election. And so I am very bullish about like how that opens the floodgates, let's say, to a much more national geopolitical conversation around Bitcoin. And we'll see what happens. But on top of that, it cannot be lost on people that just 6 months ago, we were talking about the ETFs getting approved and the first true retail style Bitcoin product coming to market. And, that is a massive trend that's going to continue to bolster adoption. Like it's not just one thing that's bolstering adoption. Just because, Trump goes out there and says, I like Bitcoin or something, that does not make Bitcoin succeed. What makes Bitcoin succeed is everyone's new use cases, new abilities to utilize it in their everyday lives, and further adoption, further understanding of the ideological points of why use Bitcoin in the first place, right? So that's a massive trend as well. And then the third thing I'll say is like we are truly entering into the mainstream culture, and especially on the post, like a Larry Fink coming out saying that today he came out and said that I believe Bitcoin to be a legitimate asset, and I was wrong about it. That is the opening of an Overton window where it is no longer a political risk to be pro Bitcoin. It's just not. And when I say political risk, I mean like from a industry entrepreneurial perspective, it's no longer a political risk. You're not going to have your friends make fun of you. You can point to Larry Fink and say, hey, one of the largest hedge fund manager in the world thinks Bitcoin is a good investment. So, that sort of barrier has been removed. And so now it allows Bitcoin to permeate the culture in a very new way. And so I'm very excited to see that trend continue. And it's something that, especially in like future events, maybe a little bit in this event, like we're going to be able to lean to more and more heavily, is truly the cultural aspect of Bitcoin.
It's wild to think about how far this industry, this cryptocurrency, has grown since even just 2021 when I was down there in Miami. It's been wild to watch, and huge efforts in getting it all done and finalized. Brandon Green, the chief of staff for the organizers there at the Bitcoin conference, Bitcoin 2024. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Super excited to see what happens. Thank you again for the time.
Absolutely. All I can say is see you in Nashville. It's going to be wild. It's going to be a wild time.
Right on. Thanks so much, Brandon. Appreciate it, man.